The most important annual security conference, which is held in Singapore and is attended by almost all of Asia's top military and defense ministers, has just finished. And the most interesting story there might really surprise you. It's about a small country you probably never heard about and you did not know had a big problem with Myanmar. Hello everyone, it's Asean Anthony, and in this video, the Shangri-La Dialogue Part 2. Now that the dialogue is finished, here's a quick synopsis of what almost every country had to say, okay? We want economic cooperation with China, but we want military cooperation with the United States. So almost all of the dialogue was about the South China Sea, the Indo-Pacific, the Pacific in general, basically the China question and Chinese dependence. But let's get into the message of what these countries said specifically. Let's start with Vietnam. Vietnam's message to the other Asian countries were, we have no enemies, but we have no alliances. Okay, so they're a no-war country. They don't want to pick a side. How about South Korea? Now, South Korea was a message included North Korea for obvious reasons. They wanted to remind everyone that North Korea is actually a global threat. And actually, there was a spat between China and America on this issue because China accused America of using South Korea as a dagger pointed at China, which I was very surprised at. And there was actually an American general there that not only heard it, he stood up, took one step towards this Chinese diplomat and responded to this. Now, he basically just said some mumbo jumbo. There was a lot of political talk there, but basically all he said was the military base from America in South Korea is not going anywhere. It was very interesting. I advise you to watch. What about Indonesia? Well, Indonesia took a more ASEAN-centered approach. Indonesia wants to be the center of ASEAN, and their stance was neutrality. They want more American security in the Strait of Malacca, but they do not want a war with China. Singapore, their message was about open trade and international laws, which was a dig at America because America right now is breaking international laws with what they're doing in Iran, and Singapore kind of stood against that. But also Singapore stood against a Great War. They refer to the Great War. The Great War that they're talking about was China versus America. They don't want that. They think it's bad for business. I agree. Japan, they took a far more hardline stance against China. They said that China cannot have Taiwan, and they want more allies in the Pacific region because they are an anchor to the first island chain. I think I mentioned that in some past videos. Okay, what about Taiwan? What did Taiwan say? Well, Taiwan didn't say anything because they weren't allowed to go. Taiwan was not allowed to go because officially Taiwan is not a country. Now, what about China? Okay, what did China say? Well, China's reminded the world that Taiwan is a part of China and everyone needs to stay out of it. That was their central message, stay out of Taiwan. And there was also an ASEAN rep there, and the ASEAN rep said basically they don't want any of the ASEAN countries choosing a side between America and China. They want ASEAN to stay neutral, which I think is a good idea, and they took a very no-war approach. They were just like, don't choose sides. But what did Timor say? What did Timor-Leste say? Well, if you want to know, watch my next video, okay? Because I'm going to have to do a video just about what Timor said. It's very interesting. Please watch it.